Have you ever been told no, you can't be this, no, you can't be that? Have you ever been rejected? You applied for this, you applied for that, to hear either an in-person conversation, no, through a phone call, or through a nice letter in the mail with just a couple of sentences. Amazingly, I'm going to share with you how you can take those no's that have happened in your life and that will happen in your life and take it to the next level and turn no's into yeses for your life. I, like many of you and your loved ones, had a dream, still dream every day. But among my biggest dreams was one day to literally do well for my family. No one in my family had ever graduated from college. In fact, no one in my family had ever graduated from high school. So my goal from watching TV, being influenced by the media, being influenced by my peers, was to be a professional football player. I weighed about 147 pounds, but my mind over my matter, I was going to succeed at becoming a football player. I found my senior year of high school that in order to be a professional football player, you needed to go to this thing called college. I can tell you right now, I wasn't that excited about this thing called high school. However, after finding out and discovered that that's what you've got to do, I quickly did what I was to do. I submitted my application, transcript, and letter of why I wanted to go to college. In fact, the college I submitted it to was the college that was closest to my hometown. And I submitted the application and letter in the fall of my senior year. And in the spring of my senior year, I got a nice letter back talking to me and informing me about that application letter I submitted that previous fall. And the letter stated, "Dear Bennie Lambert, due to low test scores and poor class rank, we're able to admit you to Baylor's freshman class." Actually, it had an intro before that. I skipped the intro, but the intro said, "Thank you very much for your application and interest in Baylor University." I still remember not seeing that first line. I skipped right to what the answer was, and it was no. I must say at that point, I'd never been as surprised. I'd never felt as embarrassed. I'd never felt as humiliated as I did then. Number one, I'd let myself down, but two, and perhaps most importantly, I'd let Big Mama down. I'd let someone in my family who loved me, who cared about me, who I respected and feared, I'd have to let them know that Bennie was not going to Baylor. And I shared that with her, and I thought it was the end of the story. I graduated from high school, and oh, by the way, while in high school, someone in fact did tell me I would not even graduate from high school. I also was in special ed while I was in school. For 6 of my 12 years, I was in special education. So I might be able to now see why perhaps they told me, no, I couldn't be this, I couldn't be that. However, on my birthday in August, Big Mom and I went to this place in the car together called a community college. And I'd heard about a community college. I really didn't want to be there because I heard it's like going to your high school just in another location in the town in which you're in. And I showed up, it was August the 23rd. I'll never forget the date because that's my birthday. And number one, you should not show up at the community college the day classes start. Number two, it's not cool to show up with your grandmother. But I did both because Big Mama said you're going to college. And I did what you're supposed to do. I met with an advisor. We sit in a room, and the advisor says, "What do you want to major in? What do you want to be?" And I said, "I want to be a pro football player." They didn't have a football team. The advisor was super professional and very courteous and kind and very encouraging and said, "What do you want to major in before you play football?" And I turned to Big Mom and I said, "Big Mom, what do you want me to be?" She said, Benny, be a doctor, a lawyer, be somebody. And I immediately said to the advisor, I want to be a doctor, an MD, the kind in which you make an appointment well in advance and you see your doctor, and in about 2 or 3 minutes, if they're with you and they're done, you go and pay, and the bill is at such a figure that I was very impressed about what my income would be in the future. They didn't tell me that in order to become a doctor, an MD, you needed to really appreciate and like and be successful at math and science. I really hated both, but I figured since I love money, I could stick it out. They made my schedule, had classes. Big Mama was in the student center waiting. I could not wait for the day to end. Went to class, went home. 3 years later, I was able to cram a 2-year degree into 3 years. Someone will get that going home today. My ultimate goal, I told you, was to be a pro football player, and I needed to go to college. I was able to transfer to that same place that sent me the letter called Baylor University that told me I was not admissible to the Baylor freshman class. And the reason I was transferring to Baylor was to be a pro football player. And I was very fortunate to know and have done my research and found out that the head coach of Baylor, Grant Taft, he himself was a walk-on, which was what I was about to come. And what that really means is, it really means that no one recruited you, no one is going to give you a scholarship, you're not going to eat 3 full meals a day and live in a dorm and be able to go through school and perform your task of playing football if that's what your scholarship was for. But I knew and believed that if I could just get a chance, things would change. I was able to walk on at Baylor University as a football player. The second day out, I was in uniform and I wanted to be a running back. I grew up idolizing many pro football players, and I grew up idolizing Calvin Hill, number 35 of the Dallas Cowboys from Yale. He was a running back, tremendous player, tremendous athlete, tremendous person. The second day out, they didn't discourage me also. I still weighed 147 pounds. They needed the scout team, which is what I was on immediately after the second day in uniform, to go against their first team players, people who are on scholarships, getting 3 meals a day, living in the dorms. The second day out, we were going against the defense. They pitched me the ball, and I remember taking 2 steps. And the next thing Bennie Lambert remembers is waking up. As I was awakened with smelling salt of some sort, I realized 2 things. Number one, I realized that my helmet and face mask both were broken. And secondly, I realized that Bennie Lambert was probably not going to be a pro football player. I quit that day. I didn't even check my uniform in. In fact, coach staff and the Baylor Athletic Department is probably still looking for that one uniform. But here's the good news. I realized that in order for me to make it to the next level, I already made it out of a community college after 3 years of success. I was at Baylor, and I had to bring whatever I had to study to make it work and to succeed. I was able to graduate from Baylor University. There are 2 things to this date on the wall in my parents' home. One, I paid $68 to have that nice letter from the Dean of Admissions that stated, "Thank you very much for your application and your interest in Baylor University. However, due to low test scores and poor class rank, we're unable to admit you to Baylor's freshman class." And right next to that nice $68 frame letter is my bachelor's degree of business from Baylor University. Yeah, you can put applause right there. Thank you very much. I tell you that story, and I promise you, I tell you that story not to say how good or how great I am, because I'm not. I tell you that story because I couldn't see then, but I can see now why Baylor University did not want me into their freshman class. I graduated 28th from the bottom of my high school graduating class. Summed up, there were 27 more people in my class who knew less than I did. I knew them very well. I was their leader. I didn't tell you before, but I'll tell you now. I couldn't see then, but I can see now why Baylor University did not want me in their freshman class. Being in the bottom quarter, having an ACT score of a 10, and having an SAT score of a 700. My scores added up together and doubled. Still probably would not have got me into most moderately selective colleges and universities across this country. And it's with that thought in mind that I share with you my story of being told, no, you can't be this, you can't be that, and to tell you how I did it. I'm absolutely convinced that learning is three things. It's time on task, it's resources, and positive experiences. If you've got time on task, you have the resources, you've got positive experiences, there's nothing you can't learn. No math, no science, no foreign language, nothing that you and I can't learn. And we're going to talk today about you having your dreams that you dreamed about to making those dreams into reality. It's not as important in life as to where you start, but where you finish. It's not as important in life as to what you have, but what you're willing to do with what you have that makes a difference. I assure you, each and every one of you, just like I, we are so unique. We've got skills that have yet to be developed. And guess what? We're going to develop them through this program. Thank you.